I have so many different topics I want to talk about. It's a little bit difficult for me to know what to focus on because they're kind of all lacing together. So the Rainbow Covenant, some more details I found on how I believe it links to the actual DNA of all life on Earth. Also, the conjunction we're at, or the convergence we're at, with the parallel to what's happening with the whole Earth, and the symbol of crossing the Jordan River and the siege around the city of Jericho. So I'm gonna I'm gonna first choose to finish off some more detail with the account of the Rainbow Covenant. And I'm also going to show you a really great online Bible study tool that I use that is super helpful. Okay, so first of all, the Bible study tool is called Blue Letter Bible. Okay, now this has a lot of features that you might not realize. So you can go to a scripture, any scripture, and then there is this function, okay, it's hard to see because of the glare, that you can see the scripture. So I'm going to read it. It's Genesis. You can see the scripture read, but then when you touch, sometimes when you touch on, okay, it's going to open a screen that literally gives you every original Hebrew word, okay, which is amazing. And then if you touch on the word, like I will find here where it talks about life, the life, here at the hand I will acquire your life. Okay, this is what I'm going to be talking about. So it talks about your lifeblood, and nephesh. And I'm going to, so then you can touch on that again. I'm just showing you the incredible details. And now it takes you to the actual dictionary. Okay, so we now have these incredible tools that only in the past you could access, probably in monasteries and with great difficulty. And so sometimes it is important for us as individuals to directly study as deeply as we possibly can, because the interpretation and understanding of what these scriptures mean, I believe, slightly transforms as we come closer and closer to the time of fulfillment. So the times we live in help shed light on meaning that may have been recorded thousands of years ago. And so the scripture that I want to focus on is Genesis 9, okay, verse 5 and 6. And something I want to share is I was raised Catholic. My parents are very faithful individuals, but awake too. And so not all Catholics are asleep, okay? And so they also see what's happening in the world. And then I ended up, when I was very young, in what I consider a dangerous personality cult. But I got free of that 20 years ago. But I got free in a very special way. I got free because I turned deeper to the Bible, and I stopped allowing other people to tell me what to think it means. And I opened my heart and allowed the Bible to speak to me, and just whatever it inspired my thoughts to think, I would just consider it. And so, very similar to when you're conversing with a friend, the Bible can also help us in that way, so that it can stimulate what's considered free thought, fresh thought, not scripted thought, not conditioned thought, not indoctrinated thought, okay? But free thought. That's what the Bible can actually help all of us with. So now the scripture I want to focus on is, I'm going to read it, Genesis 9, verse 5, and I'm going to point out what to focus on. It says, surely I will require, just wait, I'll go to the one before. It's talking about the introduction of the eating of meat now into civilization. So it is alluded that before the flood, people may not have eaten meat, or if they did, it was very little. But then it said that he said in verse 3, every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. I give all to you as I gave the green plant. So there is this, very interesting change in the diet that's being allowed. And we do know in the Bible record, it shows a very, very big drop in the recorded lifespan. It seems that before the flood, people lived hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, but then it says, so even though flesh is being given, animal flesh, this is important, not humans, it said, only you shall not eat flesh with its life. That is its blood. So it's not that the blood is actually the life, because the word here, life, this is what I want you to use the Blue Letter Bible to look yourself. The word life is actually nephesh, which is soul. Okay? So it says, every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. Okay? I give it all to you. Only you shall not eat flesh with its soul in it, which is its blood. So the Bible is saying that the blood is somehow symbolizing the soul. Okay? And then it says, surely I will require your life blood. From every beast I will require it, and from every man's brother I will require the life of man, which is the soul. Okay? Now, that might seem like nothing. It's not nothing. Because then it goes on, and it says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. Okay, so it's also, interestingly, goes on to say murder is not allowed. So even if you don't, so it's for sure, of course, condemning cannibalism. But I believe it's linked to where we are now, right on the precipice of manipulating the DNA. And why do I say this? I say this because the word nephesh is the life or the soul. Okay, and it's saying that is something we are never to consume, never take in, never use. Okay, so how would that be possible? Well, I didn't know this, but with a modern medical research, they have been able to use aborted tissue from the 70s, and they have been able to take these stem cells, which have the life force in them, and keep them alive. And they call it a cell line, I think, which means for decades these fetuses, so now that individual who could have been born never got born, but the living cells that still have the lifeblood, the life force, the soul force is still in those cells. Okay? And those are what they're using to base this very controversial genetic manipulation with. Okay? Well, when I discovered that, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because to me, that is a very modern attempt to feed off of the lifeblood or the life force. So it's like completely forbid. Okay? So it's like across the board, it's not allowed. Now, what's very interesting, okay, again, connected to Jesus, because it says the punishment, okay, this is very significant. In the verse, it says, surely I will require your lifeblood. From every beast I will require it. So this could be no interacting even with animals, the soul of animals, or the soul of, because soul sometimes even animals are referred to, because it's possibly referring to that incredible mysterious power that animates the body, okay, the soul. And it says from every man's brother I will require the life of man, which is the soul. The word here is the soul. Now, why is this significant? Jesus, in Matthew, it said, Matthew 10:28, do not fear those who kill the body. Okay, so you could get murdered, right? That can happen. But are unable to kill the soul. But rather fear him who's able to destroy both soul and body in hell, or Gehenna. Okay, so Gehenna means total destruction. Okay, so however you want to understand that, I know there's lots of doctrines around that, but it is saying here that there is the ability for the universal power, intelligent power of the universe to actually eliminate the soul, which many people believe is connected to our consciousness. But what I found very interesting is that this particular condemnation to go into this Gehenna is if someone attempted to eat flesh with its soul. And I feel myself to use cells, stem cells, and keep them alive while the individual was killed through an abortion, okay, is the deepest form of cannibalism possible to be conjured up. And what? For the purpose of attempting to extend our life or improve our life, or that is, like, for me, the most exact, deepest violation of this rainbow covenant. And you see, this is why I then began to think that this is something that has happened before on earth, and that this rainbow covenant and the account of Noah is actually a story that is pointing to this past, when somehow the DNA of humans and animals was corrupted. And when the rainbow, okay, so like I'm saying, remember, okay, that's when, it started and the promise was made that this would never happen again. And now it's touching down. And can we see evidence in our modern society that a violation of using the soul that is in the flesh, is that happening? And I feel it is. And it's a type of cannibalism being used in science, okay? So that really, really is deep. And this is also connected, I believe. I won't go into explaining it, and maybe we can make another video on it, but I believe when Jesus enacted the Last Supper, it isn't a coincidence that he said, this is my flesh and this is my blood. Okay, I believe, yes, that event also shadowed the Passover, the very first Passover, when Israel came out of Egypt. But remember, if it's a nested pattern, then it can go back even further to the first covenant. So I believe that Jesus' words, when he said, this is my flesh and this is my blood, this, because of this first covenant forbidding the consumption of the literal flesh with the soul in it, and which the blood symbolizes, Jesus was bringing our attention to this, okay? Because he's pointing out the only way, in my opinion, to access the healing power of the Spirit is not through physical methods. It's not something to steal and cannibalize from another living being, but that it's through greater access to the spirit. Okay, because it was a spiritual symbolism. So I believe there's a lot there for us to further investigate. And again, is an example that it's touching down. There's a connection now that's happening, and I have some theories on that, but I don't want to make the video too long, so I'll sign off here, and I'm going to make a second video that's about what I've discovered with the moment and time of crossing the Jericho, which I am very excited to share. Okay, goodbye, my friends.